الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا بكم. I'd like to welcome everybody and thank you for your great patience. Without further ado, we're going to get right into the lecture, inshallah. I'm just going to introduce the Sheikh. His name is Sheikh Muhammad Munir, also known as Mufti. He's from New York, USA. He got his bachelor's in the sciences of Hadith from Medina University and also completed his master's in the sciences of Hadith. He's currently an imam in New York and he's also active in da'wah efforts all over the United States of America. So without further ado, inshallah, I'll pass the mic over to him. Jazakumullahu khairan.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله وسلم وبارك على عبده ورسوله نبينا وإمامنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بهديه أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the goodness of this night and to endow us with the barakah of this night and all that He has placed therein of good and of khair. Just as we ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from the evil of this night and any evil that He may have placed therein. With that being said, the topic that was given to me was birrul walidain wa uququhuma or uququl walidain. Good treatment of one's parents and also bad treatment of one's parents. Benevolence, kindness, respect, loyalty, service, and dutifulness to one's mother and one's father. Also to one's grandmother and one's grandfather. To one's great-grandmother and great-grandfather, etc. Wickedness, disrespect, foul treatment, disloyalty, lack of service of or towards one's mother, one's father, and or both of them at the same time. And the same applies to the grandmother, the grandfather, etc., as the people of knowledge mention. No doubt, it's a very important topic. It's a topic that is attached to all other side topics, such as the modern age in which we live in, 2018, the internet, the culture shock, the people who came from Muslim countries, from the African continent, the Caribbean, the Middle East, the Far East, and now they're Canadians. They live in Canada, they live in the United States, they live in the UK, in which the religion, in which politics, in which the climate, the environment, in which the society is like night and day. And one of the most striking differences between the Middle East or the Horn of Africa or the Caribbean or this place of that place, not the only, but one of the most striking differences is the treatment of one's parents, is the treatment of one's grandparents. And also, if you want to be real and honest, is the treatment of one's children, how you treat your children and how you deal with your children. So it's a major, major culture shock. Where I come from in Morocco, it's unheard of for a young man to talk to his father like this. Where I come from, the Caribbean, I come from Haiti. My background isn't Muslim. We were Christians or whatever we were. But for a girl to suck her teeth and be smart and sarcastic to her mother and to go run off with her boyfriend and this and that is a total abomination, even among those who are Christian. And I come from Somalia, and I come from this land and this country, and so on and so on and so forth. So we have the modern day and age. We have West versus East, the culture shock. And most importantly, we have old school versus new school. Your time is fading, whether you realize it or not. You're an endangered species. The 70s, the 60s are nothing like the 80s, nothing like the 90s, let alone the 2000, let alone 2018. So we have a mixture of concepts that are attached and fastened to each other, all attaching themselves to good treatment of the parents or bad treatment of the parents. And yes, what I plan to mention, if there's enough time, what many people conveniently like to neglect and ignore is the treatment of the children. Because oftentimes how you treat your children comes back to you in your old age, when you have cancer and they place you in a hospice, or when you get diabetes or arthritis, you're too weak, too poor, too sick to work, and you look for this benevolent, chivalrous son to come and descend from the heavens to feed you soup and to wash you and to take care of you and walk you up the steps and walk you down the steps. But were you that parent when he was younger? Were you that parent when he was younger and he needed your time and your service to throw a ball or to come to a presentation or give him a pat on the back or to read him a story at nighttime? And this is something which is vividly clear and lucid in the Western culture. People, they are shocked and they're surprised when they're stuffed inside of a home. How do they treat the people in that home? How do they look after them? How do they talk to them? And he says, I have children, 3 sons, 4 daughters. He's a college athlete. This daughter, she's an actor. This person's a successful accountant. And look where they have me, stuck in this horrible place. And oftentimes people, they feel pity for them. Astaghfirullah, that's sad. Look how his children treat him. Look how his children leave him to these people who have no care, no concern from him. But oftentimes the old man or the old woman, they're pretenders. As we say, they're pretenders. And they neglected their children when they were younger. Whether it was the Islamic attention that they needed, or as we said, just throwing a softball, throwing a football, kicking around a soccer ball. You'd be shocked. I don't have time, son. I have to work. I have a business meeting. Your mother will take you. Your brothers will take you. So you neglect your children for years. And then you grow up and all of a sudden, behold, your son is supposed to be this dutiful, pious child. Obviously, that is a dream world. And Allah Azza wa Jal has clearly warned us of dreams. And has clearly warned us from being asleep and from living in a delusional state. Now, so with that being said, starting off with talking about good treatment of one's parents. Obviously, the asl, the foundation of this kind of concept is found in the Quranic Kareem. Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, after seeking His refuge, subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the accursed devil, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِندَكَ الْكِبَرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا وَقُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِي صَغِيرًا رَبُّكُمْ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا فِي نُفُوسِكُمْ إن تكونوا صالحين فإنه كان للأوابين غفورا وآت ذا القربى حقه والمسكين وابن السبيل ولا تبذر تبذيرا إن المبذرين كانوا إخوان الشياطين وكان الشيطان لربه إيش شكورا كفورا. انتبه. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He mentions these ayat for a reason and for wisdom. At best, most of us will only mention the first ayat that pertains to the what? The walidain. But look carefully what Allah Azza wa Jal says. رَبُّكُمْ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا فِي نُفُوسِكُمْ. Your Lord knows best of what is hidden in your nafs. إِن تَكُونُوا صَالِحِينَ. If you are righteous, i.e. if you strive, if you put forth effort, then Allah Azza wa Jal is all forgiving. Then the next ayah Allah says, وَآتِ ذَا الْقُرْبَ حَقَّهُ وَالْمِسْكِينَ وَابْنَ السَّبِيلِ وَلَا تُبَذِّرْ تَبْذِيرًا. Allah says, and those who are close of kin, the poor, the orphans, the wayfarers, give them their haqq. But don't be a spendthrift. Don't be a waster. So if Allah Azza wa Jal commanded the Prophet ﷺ to give the haqq to the close of kin, to the miskeen, to the yatim, to the wayfarer, فَمَا بَالُكَ بِأَوْلَادِكَ أَنْتَ. Then what do you think about your own children that are from your loins, that look like you, talk like you, walk like you? How many parents are stingy to their children? They're misers to their children. They'll spend abundantly on themselves and they'll clench their fists when it comes to their kids. And then from the stupidity of man, the foolishness of man, the ignorance of man, and the selfishness of man, when he gets older, he now feels what? Entitled. to have a righteous, dutiful son, and he wasn't willing to give his son something that was small and simple when it was his responsibility. So reason is, before saying that, we're going to go back and translate the initial first couple of lines from Surah Al-Isra, is to show you is that the Quran is a complete book. And the moment we as Muslims wish to cut and paste and carefully, conveniently select and slice one verse away from the surah, away from the context, in most cases, we're going to go astray. We're going to go extreme. And at best, we're just going to fall short. We're not going to implement what Allah Azza wa Jalla wants us to implement. And there lies no doubt there's a reason why Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned these ayat in the way in which He did. And I'm pretty confident, and Allah knows best, and I'm pretty sure Allah knows best, that not too many people talk about it like this. And whenever they talk about good, dutiful treatment of parents, which is from the deen, which we want to explain, it's just a one-sided discussion. That's it. Do what you want with your children to your children. Don't teach them. Don't give them tarbiyah. Don't feed them from the halal. Feed them off of riba. Let them watch, listen to it. Do whatever they want all their lives. And then they're going to grow up and be dutiful to you. Everybody understand this? And that's something that the Quran, as we've just mentioned briefly, clearly debunks. So with that being said, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He says, وَقَضَى رَبُّكَ. He says, and your Lord, speaking to Muhammad directly, your Lord has ordained, He has commanded, He has ordered, أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ, that you worship Allah and only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rather, that's not the translation. Allah says, أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ. Allah says not to worship anyone except Allah. So the stronger, who's standing up in the masjid? You say, Mahdi is standing up in the masjid. I've affirmed that Brother Mahdi is what? Standing up. I've affirmed something. That isn't the same in which I'm saying no one is standing up in the masjid except the Mahdi. I've excluded, I've negated anyone to stand except for one. And I didn't affirm first, but I negated first. No one is standing except the Mahdi. So Allah says, don't worship anyone except Allah. There lies no doubt that's a far more profound way of speaking. Allah says, and your Lord, Allah, has decreed, He has ordained, He has mandated, أَلَّا تَعْبُدُوا إِلَّا إِيَّاهُ, that you worship none but Him. And then right after that, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He doesn't say, اقرأ. He doesn't say, قُمْ فَأَنذِرْ. He doesn't say, آتِ وَأَنْفِقْ مِمَّا. Allah doesn't say, spend, pray, fight, martyr yourself. Allah says directly after that, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, and that you treat your parents with ihsan. You treat your parents with ihsan. What does that mean? You give them money, you carry them on their back when you make tawaf. If you find that your father or mother is a slave, you manumit them. Allah said none of these things. He says, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, treat your parents with ihsan. And He mentioned that for a reason. And we're trying to pay close attention and place focus on the balagha of the Quran, the magnificent, exquisite, high-class, eloquent nature of the Quran, and how Allah mentions things for a reason. Allah says, وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا, ihsan, good treatment of the parent, dutifulness to the parent, obedience to the parent, loyalty to the parent, without specifying, without saying this and saying that. That is with regards to al-ihsan, with the good treatment. Allah then says, إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِنْدَكَ الْكِبَرِ أَوْ أَحْدُهُمَا, if one of your parents or both of your parents, if they reach old age. Why does Allah say this? So does it mean that I can be disrespectful to my mother if she's younger? If she isn't that old, if she isn't a senior citizen? That's not the wisdom. Allah says, إِمَّا يَبْلُغَنَّ عِنْدَكَ الْكِبَرَ أَحَدُهُمَا أَوْ كِلَاهُمَا, when they've reached an age in which they are done, they're finished, they've raised you. He's worked. Your mother has worked and sacrificed to raise you. Now it's done. She deserves a certain type of relaxation, to retire. It's unfair for her to continue to be patient upon you after she was patient upon you for all of those years. That's what this means. If they reach old age, then there's a certain status that they automatically deserve. Even though they deserve that status before they reach old age. But there lies no doubt that age is important now. Age is supposed to do something. It's supposed to turn you. It's supposed to direct you and scope your mind. As the Prophet ﷺ told us in another authentic hadith, regarding the 3 types of individuals on the Day of Judgment, they will receive a special punishment. And from that punishment, Allah Azza wa Jalla will not speak to them. He will not look towards them. He will not purify them of their sins. And they have a painful punishment. The Prophet ﷺ said, Ushaymatin zanin. He says, and from those people is an aged fornicator. Is an old man whose hair is gray and black, and he still makes zina. Zina haram upon young men? Of course it is. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا zina. Don't go near zina. Zina is haram upon young men. So why does the old man get a special punishment on the Day of Judgment for being a fornicator? Because he's older, and the age is supposed to automatically do something to him. Iman, faith, just sheer age. He's supposed to be wiser. He's supposed to have more self-control, and he's supposed to have lived through life to have more respect for someone instead of making zina. Everybody understand this? So Allah, He says, if the parents grow old, فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ, then don't say uff to them. Who says uff in Canada in 2018? You say uff. The equivalent of uff is what? That's our what? Uff. Allah says, do not say uff to them. فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا, nor repel them with your words of disrespect and of nastiness. The magnificence of the Quran is that if you can't suck your teeth, if you can't get smart with your parent, let alone say, get out my face, I don't feel like it. Let alone tell your parents, bleep, 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 or dot, 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 or go dot, 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 as many young people do today. If it's haram to say uff, then of course it's haram to what? Curse at your mother and raise your voice at your mother. This is a tremendous Quranic principle, and this is for Allah to teach us about the smallest thing, to open and expand our minds for the bigger thing. As we say, from the shallowest things we learn the what? Deepest things. From the shallowest things we learn what? The deepest things. Allah says you can't say uff to your parents. Okay, khalas. So if I can't say uff to my parents, then I can call my mother a this and a that. Allah never said I can't do that, right? Allah never said that. Correct or incorrect? Allah never says that I can't curse at them. He says the only thing I can't say is what? Uff. But that's not what Allah means. What Allah is trying to teach us is that if you can't say uff, let alone something that's 10 times worse. As Allah Azza wa Jalla is speaking about the believers, وَلَا يَضْرِبْنَ بِأَرْجُلِهِنَّ لِيُعْلَمَ مَا يُخْفِينَ مِنْ زِينَتِهِنَّ. Allah says in chapter 24, Surah An-Nur, speaking about women and speaking about how they have to cover and how they have to dress. Allah says, and they shouldn't stamp and stomp their feet. They shouldn't walk and kick and click their heels in a way لِيُعْلَمَ مَا يُخْفِينَ مِنْ زِينَتِهِنَّ, lest the beauty that is concealed and hidden would be known to foreign men. I.e., if a woman can't show her ankle and her foot, if a woman cannot show her anklet or her banglet or her hinna on her legs, فَمَا بَالُكَ بِوَجْهِهَا وَكَفَّيْهَا, then what do you think about her face and her hands? If a woman can't show you her toes and switch and walk in this type of attractive, seductive manner, then what do you think about talking in a way and dressing in a way and wearing tight and wearing perfume? Everybody understand this? And it's example after example after example. Allah, He shows us the smallest thing to allow us to understand what? The biggest thing. The shallow thing is the indicator to the what? To the deepest thing. Everybody understand these Quranic principles? So Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفٍّ, don't even say uff to them. That doesn't just mean don't say uff to them, but that means don't say any word of disrespect, no matter how small and how simple it may be. And this in Islam is that which is called al-qiyas. It's a systematic analogy, or qiyas al-awlawiyya. It's the qiyas of something that's even more deserving. Something that's even what? More deserving. As the Prophet ﷺ, he says, shirakun aw shirakani min nar. He says, 1 or 2 leather straps of fire. In other words, when there's a battle and someone takes something from the spoils, before the imam disperses those spoils, is a major sin, and it's a reason behind going to the fire of hell. So if taking a breastplate or a piece of leather is made of fire, then what do you think about gold? What do you think about a large amount of wealth? So it's a consistent Quranic principle, and principle in the prophetic sunnah is that we are taught the what? The smallest thing to do what? To eliminate the what? The biggest thing. Everybody understand this? A woman cannot show her feet to non-mahram men. What do you think about a woman showing this and showing that? Common sense and basic logic. So Allah, He says, فَلَا تَقُلْ لَهُمَا أُفْ. Don't say uff to them. وَلَا تَنْهَرْهُمَا. Nor say things which are worse. Treat them in a negative behavior, a negative way, a negative mannerism. وَقُلْ لَهُمَا قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا. And another major Quranic principle is never ever to be empty and never be void. You can't disrespect your parents. You can't say bad things to them. You can't say the least amount of disrespect. That's not good enough, yahi. I never disrespected my mother, but did you ever say kind words to her? I never cursed at my mother, but did you ever praise your mother? Everybody understand this? I never stole from anyone, but did you give zakat to anyone? So it's not good enough to be void, to just avoid it. It's haram, khalas, and stay away from it. No. Now, the prohibition of a thing is the command to do its opposite, and vice versa. And that's a tremendous Quranic principle as well. When Allah prohibits us from something, He is actually at the same time commanding us to do the opposite. And when Allah commands us to do something, He's prohibiting us from the opposite. So it's not enough to remain from disrespecting your mother and your father, but now on top of that, you must say to them, قَوْلًا كَرِيمًا, a noble, fine word. Tell them, make dua for them, speak kindly to them for all that they have done for you, whether you realize it or whether you realize it not. And the average child doesn't realize how much his or her parents has worked for him until they're gone. Until it's gone, then you realize what your father did and what your mother truly did and how they felt for you and how they wanted good for you. Allah Azza wa Jalla, He then says, He says, وَخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ ذُلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ, and lower your wing. Allah says, lower your janah, lower your wing out of mercy. And this is something that is well known even in English language. When there's an older brother and he takes a younger brother as his protege, he takes a younger brother as his pupil, his disciple, he says, I'm taking him under my what? Under my wing. Everybody understand this? And this goes back to something which is deep, and that is the concept of a bird. One of the most intimate animals with its young. Not the most, but one of the most. And everyone knows about a bird's nest and how the bird incubates the eggs and goes and gets the worm and brings it back to the nest. The Prophet ﷺ says, لو أنكم توكلون على الله حق توكله لرزقكم كما يرزق الطير. أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. He says, if you put your trust in Allah in a manner that's befitting, He will give you sustenance like He gives the birds sustenance. What does the bird do? The bird leaves with an empty belly and it comes back with a full belly. What is the word or the concept for child custody and taking care of children in Islam? Al-hidana. And hidana comes from what? It comes from incubation. The literal meaning is a bird sitting on top of an egg. So the concept of a wing, the concept of someone grabbing and engulfing, someone enveloping and squeezing and keeping warm and tight. Allah says, lower your wing for your parents. وَخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الظُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ. Be humble to your parents. Don't be haughty to your parents. Now your son is no longer a little small boy. He's 6'3". He's bigger than you. He's stronger than you. You can't push him around. You can't say what you want to say to him. He may be a little scared of you now, or he may not be scared of you at all. He's bigger and stronger than you now. So now the tables have turned. The roles are reversed. There was a time in which the son was weak and small, and he couldn't stand up, and he couldn't walk, and he couldn't go to the bathroom, and he couldn't stay on a bicycle without crashing. And Allah commanded you to be gentle to your children. Allah commanded in order you to be kind. Now the roles have what? Reversed. He's weaker, he's old, she's weaker, she's old, she's shorter than you now. You tower her when you stand next to your mother. You give your mother a hug, And you stand far above your mother. Was it always like that? It was a time in which you were a small, tiny baby. We're making this up. You give your mother a hug, you see how short she is now. For years it wasn't like that before. So the roles have reversed. And now you have to do the exact opposite. You have to be merciful and you have to be kind. وَقُلْ رَبِّ ارْحَمْهُمَا كَمَا رَبَّيَانِ صَغِيرًا. And say, whether it's with your tongue, and say through your dua, and say with your actions, Rabbi, oh my Lord, irhamhuma. Have mercy on my parents. Be kind to my parents. Be gentle with my parents. Kama rabbayani saghiran. Just like they were when I was little and they raised me and they took care of me. And it's a major, major principle of wisdom is that life is constantly a revolving wheel. People are born, people die. People grow big and strong, people grow old and weak. That's life. Nothing in this dunya remains. Anything that goes up, it must come down, as the Prophet ﷺ said. It's a right haqq Allah. Nothing from this dunya will be elevated except that it goes down. So this is the concept of life. And it also teaches you with regards to your children. If you don't treat your parents right, if you disrespect them, if you aren't dutiful to them, know for sure one day you'll have children. One day you'll be needy. Know for sure that one day, kama tudinu tudan. They say what goes around comes around, or as we say, you reap what you sow. So therefore, bi'idhnillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, let these words be a means of reminder for parents. Let these words be a means of reminder for children. As far as the parents, those who have children, ittaqullah. Fear Allah regarding your children. Do not feed your children through haram wealth. Fear Allah regarding your children. Do not leave them and allow them to watch and listen to anything. Do not allow them to just do whatever they want to do because it's cool or because it's pressure or I don't want to be too hard on them. I don't want to make it difficult. I want my kids to be normal and regular like everybody else. You have a job to do. And your job is not about making your children happy according to what they want to do. You have an amana, a trust. And Allah will ask you about that trust on Yawm al-Qiyamah. Spend time with your children. Be kind to your children. Teach your children. Instill in them a sense of worth, a sense of responsibility, a sense of honor. What was the Prophet's daughter name? Her name was what? Kulthum. How many children did she have? She was the mother of Kulthum. What did the Prophet say to Anas radiallahu anhu? Ya Aba Umayr, ma fa'ala nughayr. He said, oh Abu Umayr, how did your bird die? You had a bird in a cage. What did the Prophet say to Abdullah ibn Abbas? Ya ghulam inni u'allimuka kalimatin. He says, oh young man, I will teach you some words of advice. I'll share some gems and jewels with you as a young man and not a boy. What did the Prophet say to Amr ibn Abi Salama? He said, Ya ghulam, samillah, wa kul bi yaminik. He says, oh young man, say Allah's name before you eat. Eat with your right hand and eat from that which is in front of you. And he didn't call him ya walad. Okay? He didn't call him a boy, as many of us do. We call our grown sons, what do we call them what? We call them boys. And he's not a boy anymore. And you keep telling your son that he's irresponsible and you're a loser and you're nothing and you're not going to amount to anything. What do you think is going to happen? It's going to end up in his head, maybe I am a loser. Maybe I am nothing. I can never ever make my father happy no matter what I do. This is the reality. And it has an effect upon children when they grow up. So fear Allah Azza wa Jalla regarding your children, men and women. Ittaqullah. And also to the sons and the daughters. Ittaqullah fi anfusikum. Fear Allah Azza wa Jalla regarding your own selves. Don't be ungrateful. Don't be disrespectful. Your father, your mother, only Allah knows what struggles they had to go through. Whether your father is indigenous to America or Canada, or whether they came from Somalia, or came from Pakistan, or came from Afghanistan, wherever they had to come from. Only Allah knows the horrors of immigration, of not having nothing, a new land, a new place, being in debt, going through all of these problems for you to have fun, for you to go to school, for you to make money, for you to be happy, for you to prosper, for you so you can bloom and grow. And this is how you treat your parents because they don't do one thing for you or it doesn't go how you want it to go. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be mindful of what you do and avoid being ungrateful. And if you're ungrateful to someone, know for sure that it will come back and bite you. And there'll be someone that you expect to respect you and to honor you, and they'll treat you in the same manner, if not worse. So it goes back and forth. As the Prophet ﷺ said, مَا لَمْ يَرْحَمْ صَغِيرَنَا وَيَعْرِفْ حَقَّ كَبِيرِنَا فَلَيْسَ مِنَّا. As Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As is reported, as Imam Abu Dawud is collected in his Sunan, the Prophet ﷺ said, he who doesn't have mercy upon our youth and doesn't know the rights of our elders isn't from us. So the Prophet said he never ever spoke on a one-sided scale like us today. We speak on a one-sided scale. The children, the children, the children, the children, the children. Be respectful, be respectful, be respectful. Look up to your elders, respect the elders. Especially in the masjids. Respect the elder. Respect the imam. Listen to the imam. We know better. We have experience. We have knowledge. That's what most of us say, promote and push. And oftentimes we banish the children from the masjid, whether we realize it or not. Sit down, be quiet. It's a child. He can't sit down. If he could, he would. How did you run around when you were younger? Be merciful to the children. Teach them how to stand in the row quietly. Teach them the wudu. Teach them how to clean themselves. Teach them not to splash urine all over the seats. Don't just kick them and banish them from the masjid and discipline them unnecessarily harshly. So the Prophet says, he who isn't merciful to our young, and he who doesn't acknowledge the right of our old head, the older brothers that came before you, that established, that built, that sacrificed, that taught you your deen, that suffered for your comfort. So it goes hand in hand. One hand washes the next hand. One hand goes with the other hand. One hand can never ever clap. Two hands are needed to clap. Respecting the elders and having mercy upon the youth. That is the key to fixing this problem. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala surely knows best. These are a few brief, basic points of reminder. Jazakumullahu khairan. And now I'll pass the microphone back to Samir for him to introduce my colleague, Sheikh Abu Umar Abdul Aziz, Hafidhullah ta'ala wa nafa'a bihi. Thank you very much for your time, for your attention, and for your respect. May Allah Azza wa Jalla give you both the reward and the fa'idah as well.
نسأل الله العظيم رب العرش العظيم أن يجزيك خير الجزاء. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward the Shaykh